Hello, we're going to make a video. This is July 7th, 2023. This video will demonstrate adding the Packard Lab HP 4515X printer in room 601 or 601 to a Windows desktop. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to come down here to the little Start button, and we're going to do a right click, and we're going to go to File, Explorer. And we're going to make some directories where we're going to put the drivers. So then we're going to go to the Downloads directory. And from this point, we can either come up here and click on New and make a folder. In our case, we have some white space over here. So we'll come over to the white space and we'll do a right click. And then what we'll do is we'll come down here to New. And then we'll come up here to Folder. And we're going to call this folder under the Downloads directory Print Drivers. Then we're going to click into the Print Drivers directory. And the reason for this is you may have more than one company's print drivers or more than one model printer even. So we're going inside the Print Drivers directory, we're going to do a right click, come down here to New, go up to Folder, and these are going to be the HP print drivers. Okay, so we've created a place where we're going to stick the print drivers. So now let's go get the print drivers. So what we need to do now is open a web browser. And this is an HP printer that we're going to be installing. So we'll go to www.hp.com. Okay, and we'll go ahead and we'll accept the privacy settings. Now, if you're on a bigger screen, you may see options along the top, similar to what you're going to see in the drop-down box or drop-down menu I'm going to bring up. So because I have a smaller window, I have the three lines here. If I click on that, you'll see a drop-down menu come down, and then I'm going to come down and go to Support and click on Support. Under Support, it will say Software and Drivers, so I'll go ahead and click on that. So you see there's a couple of icons along the way here. We're going to obviously click on Printers since that's where our printer drivers are going to be. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type HP LaserJet 4515X. Okay, and as I did that, you can see one of the drop downs is exactly the printer that we want. So we're just going to go ahead and click on that option there. And here come the drivers. So we're going to actually go with the universal print driver option. And so we'll go ahead and click the little plus sign next to that to get it to expand. And then we're going to go with the Windows PCL6 64-bit. Over here on the right hand side there's a download button. We'll go ahead and click the download button. And it's giving us the option as to where to download. So what I'm going to do now is under Downloads, I'll click on Print Drivers, I'll click on HP, and then I'll click on Save. And this will save it in that directory we created a little bit earlier. Okay, so now if I come down to the Start button again, and I do a right click on the Start button, come up to File Explorer, I'm going to go into the Downloads directory, go into Print Drivers, and then HP. And here you can see the file that we downloaded. I'm going to double click that file because I want to unzip it. This is a zip executable. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse and make sure it's going to where I want this to go. So I'll click on Browse, comes up, and what I want to do is go back into my Downloads directory. Okay, so there's my Downloads directory. I'm going to go into Print Drivers and then HP. I could have just clicked straight on HP in this situation, but and then click OK. Now that says the directory where I'm going to put the drivers, and it's, as you can see, it maps up to where I'm sitting right now. And after I click Unzip, the drivers should all appear in this directory. So I'll click Unzip, and you can see the drivers pop in there. And I'll click OK, and it's going to ask me if I want to use the HP software to install the printer. I'm going to click no. I'm going to use the Windows software to install it. So then I click OK. So now I can close this box for now, or window, and I can close the browser window too. Okay, so in order to install the printer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the search button here, come up to this text, and I'm going to type Control Panel, and you see Control Panel popped up here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Control Panel. When you first come in, you're going to see Category View for the computer settings. I always switch that to icon view, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the category, and I'm going to click on large icons. Okay, so now where I want to go is to devices and printers, and I'll double click that. And what I want to do is I want to add a printer. So I'll come over to add a printer. I'm going to click that the printer I want isn't listed. I want to actually set this printer up myself using IP printing. So you see the options here. I'm going to add a printer using the IP address. So I'll click that radio button, and then I'll click Next. It defaults to IPP device. I want a TCP IP device, so I'm going to click the drop-down box and then click TCP device. I don't want it to query for a driver. I don't want it to use a Microsoft driver. I want it to use an HP driver, and in order to get that to happen, I have to turn off the query for the printer driver. And then what we're going to do is we're going to type in the printer name, so it's Packard, Packard dash RM601 dash HP 4515X .cc.lehigh.edu. And don't worry about case, capital letters or small letters. This is a domain name. Your case doesn't have to match what I have. It can be upper or lower, it doesn't matter. The letters have to be the correct letters, but the case doesn't matter. Okay, so I've gone and I've typed in the name of the fully qualified domain name of the printer on the network, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit Next. And if you see this box here where it says install the print driver, you know that you typed that name in correctly, and well, you know you typed that name in correctly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the driver. So we actually have the driver. So we're going to click Have Disk. We're going to click Browse. And then we want to go to the Downloads directory. So it defaults to System 32 usually. So I'm going to click this little drop-down box. And then you can see the Downloads directory here. And if you don't, go ahead and navigate to your Downloads directory. We'll click on Print Drivers, HP. We're going to choose the first INF file. So we'll click that first INF file, and then we'll click Open. And that shows the file that we want to use to get our print drivers. So then we'll click OK, and our universal print drivers come up here. We're going to use the universal printing PCL6 driver, and then we're going to go ahead and click Next. This is going to be the text name that is associated with the icon that's going to represent your printer in the system setup. So we're going to call this Packard RM601 HP 4515X. And that's a way that if I look at my printers on my system, I can tell that this is the printer for room 601. So I'll go ahead and click Next, and now it's going to install the printer. Now, what it's asking is, do you want to use, or do you want to allow this to actually modify your computer so that the printer is installed? Obviously you want that, so you're going to click Yes. And now it's actually installing the printer. This can take anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. And we'll wait for this to get done here. And you can actually, if you want to install this, you can do this over VPN. And if you are working remotely, you can print to the printer via VPN. Okay, now it's all set up. It asks, do we want to print a test page? We're going to hit yes, print a test page. It's always a good thing to do and make sure that test page comes out. Okay, we'll close that. We'll go ahead and finish. Now, one thing I like to do, particularly if, say, I'm sitting in Packard 601 and that's the lab I'm in, I like to set this to be the default printer. So I'll come on top of the printer and I'll do a right click and I'll click it to be set as default printer. And this means that it says Windows will stop managing the default printer. But I click that anyways, and that way whenever I do something like if I'm working in Word or Excel, this will be the printer that will always be visible when I go to print. So, and then I can close that, and we're all done. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful.